Bam! I'm Jayson Waller with the True Underdog podcast. That's a top 3 podcast on Apple for entrepreneur. And I've got a badass here today. He is the real Bradley. He has a podcast called Dropping Bombs. He runs a big business. He's a big personality. How are you doing, Brad?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be you.
I don't know about that. Listen, I am a big fan. I just got done being on your show, and we've got to switch the roles here where I'm in your studio with the Underdog and you're in the little kid seat. What's that like for you?
It's a little awkward, but hey, you dish it out, you got to take it sometimes.
I love it. I love it. So a lot of people, you were telling me some of the things, how you grew up and how many kids you have and things like that. I want to talk a little bit about, for those listeners out there that don't know who the real Bradley is, what is it you do right now in your business that's so successful? And then how was your childhood when you started growing up?
Well, right now I have several companies. I have RV dealerships, lead businesses, all kinds of companies. The main company is LightSpeed Virtual Training, which is a software that we license to companies to train their teams better and or subject matter experts to monetize their training.
You have some big names that use that software.
Oh, yeah.
Who that? Grant Cardone? Who else?
The biggest. Yeah. Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone. I mean, he died, but we still have his family. Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, anybody that had a major name or currently does is most likely using LightSpeed to train, track, and measure, the companies they work with or the people that want to learn from them.
And you were one of the OGs that actually created this training software like more than 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, like someone said the other day, they said, well, I did a lot of research, Brad, and there wasn't any companies back there. And I said, really? So I started looking myself and I couldn't find any. And someone said, dude, that means you started the online training space. And I said, well, shit, I'll take that. I'll take that title. So yeah, I mean, I've been rumored as the father of online learning.
OG the father. I love it.
And we're doing a good 8 figures, trying to hit 9 here, maybe, probably won't be this year, but definitely next year. Yep. We haven't never marketed. It's always just word of mouth and referrals and what have you. Thankfully, our business grows when our clients' business grows. Mm-hmm. So, we've got MLM companies and, associations and schools. And, my mission in life is just to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it or want it. Because I think people fail because they just don't have the right information. I mean, some fail because they won't take action anyway. Right. They're lazy asses. Yeah. But I'm not worried about the lazy asses. I'm worried about the people that are, they can't seem to figure out how to make a couple $100,000 a year. Because quite frankly, I think life starts at, 350, 400. That's when life actually starts to feel okay. You could survive making 60, 80. I had to do it for a long time. I know lots of people that do. My kids do. So yeah, you can survive. But I say, unless you're making 350, you're not really living. You're just surviving.
I think that's a good number. I think that's accurate. I think, success isn't how much money you make, but we talked about earlier, it does make you a little happier if you got some money in the bank to do things, right?
Dude, I get happy every time I see a big check.
I love that. So in your business, for the listeners out there, some of the entrepreneurs out there that have companies, the way you're able to transition, you were kind of coaching me on, here's how my company, Power Home Solar, could utilize that. But really it's virtual training there. It eliminates some of the end users or the HR department people that you have, right? Explain that.
Well, it's a technology we developed to emulate what you would do in real life. So in real life, you ask questions and you answer accordingly. So I had to develop an interactivity element to where now the video pops up and asks you questions. So just imagine a video of me popping up saying, hey, you want to talk about this or that, or are you this or are you that, or how much experience do you have? So some people are using the interactive technology to create videos to screen applicants, to onboard new employees, to train them and get them up to speed for the training team to come in and take over.
Right.
There's a lot of monotony when you're filtering applicants, especially with high volume, especially when you have turnover. So a lot of the franchise restaurants that are doing, a lot of hiring, they need some support and scalability when it comes to bringing someone from brand new to up to speed on all the, shit you don't want to repeat over and over. Mm-hmm. So it just turned out, man, that this is the most advanced technology We've been at it the longest. And it's just like, it's a learning technology. The rest of them are hosting technologies, meaning
Right.
you have videos that you want people to watch and you need a place to host them. That's normal. Ours tries to get you to make sure you understand what's in them. So role play scenarios, interactivity, choose your own adventure, testing, role play, leaderboards, shit like that.
I'm definitely interested. You told me about it. I was like, look, if I can enhance and empower our, training and development team to do better, then that's what we're going to need. Because we're hiring salespeople, we're hiring installers, we're hiring customer care. We just even hired Disney Experience to do some of the training for our customer service side.
Yeah.
We're always looking to get better in training. I think people need to understand in today's world, the more knowledge you have and the more information you have, the more effective you can be in business for your employees and for yourself. So growing up, Brad, where did you grow up, and did you grow up poor? Did you grow up rich? What was your story?
Well, I grew up in a blue collar family in the Pacific Northwest. My dad worked in a mill. My stepmom was a typesetter. So, we didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't know it at the time. We had Christmas presents and shit like that. I didn't walk to school holding a baked potato to keep my hands warm.
Did you hear that story too as a kid?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's crazy is like, I believe perspective is a big difference. And there's a lot of times where people hear my story and they're like, wow, you dropped out in the 11th grade, you had kids early, and man,
you had kids at 17.
17. Yeah. But dude, I never felt that way.
Right.
Like a lot of times the perspective that you have will determine your outlook. So people say, what did it feel like to hit rock bottom? Because one time I was homeless in LA, sleeping on the beach in Laguna Beach.
It's a good beach though.
Well, no, it was Zuma Beach.
Okay.
But they would say, well, what do you mean you never hit rock bottom? You were homeless on the beach. And I said, yeah, but that's a beach, bro. Like you can't think of worse than sleeping on a beach for a couple weeks. Like, dude, don't be a puss, first of all. Second of all, it's perspective, man.
Yeah.
I think I've always had the perspective of, there's opportunity. So I don't feel like, I came from a poor family and, boo-hoo, and my dad didn't love me because, we never got hugs and whatnot. But I knew he loved me. I grew up in a family that was children should be seen and not heard. But it was blue collar. Now, about 12 to 14, maybe, my dad got a little entrepreneurial. He built a little business. He had a little newspaper, local newspaper. We built a tavern. We built a pizza parlor. So he was starting to get up there in life. We built a house, a nice house in a nice part of town. And we started to be, rich.
Yeah.
But someone got in a car crash or a motorcycle accident at my dad's tavern. And my uncle, who he was partners with in that thing, canceled the insurance to save a little coin, and devastated, wiped out, no more money, had no insurance to cover it. So basically he gave up and went right back to work at the mill and never lifted his head up again. He never tried entrepreneurial shit again. So we were, for a minute, kind of like upper class, but mostly just blue collar.
So you saw that. You saw his reaction. I'm sure that put some fire in your belly to do something different.
Not really. Again, when I look back, I don't think, oh, and at that moment I knew.
Well, I didn't mean it like that.
I know, but I didn't really think anything. What gave me the fire is I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
I like respect, and I like freedom, and I like to do what I want. And I was always a little bit, hard to handle because of that. But when I worked for places, I was good, but I didn't like being told what to do. So that's the main reason I ended up as an entrepreneur. But when I was young, at 6 years old, they gave me candy bars to go sell, world's finest chocolate. And I went and sold more candy bars than any kid in the school. Matter of fact, they gave me all the candy bars the other kids couldn't sell, and I literally sold out all the candy bars. And they were wondering how I did it. Well, I was knocking on the door, and I would put the candy bars behind my back, and I'd say, do you have the phone number to a good roof repairman? They'd say, what? And I'd say, because when you taste one of these, you're going to go through the roof. And that was their reaction. And they'd be like, give me the box, kid, give me the box. And I was just selling boxes at a time. And I developed this pitch that basically worked like a charm. and I outsold everybody. So I knew I had some chops, but I didn't realize it. My parents, they were blue collar. My whole family's blue collar. And they said, you got to get a real job, where you get put on your work boots, show up at 4 a.m. and bust your ass and, come home tired and, work, like real work. You don't want some stupid sales job. So I went and got a job at a forest service, and, there were forest fires a lot. And so I thought, I was going to be a firefighter up in the mountains. I pictured myself with a flannel shirt and an axe over my shoulder and a freaking wolf by my side. And, I imagined I was going to be this hero. And I showed up and they told me to put this big bag of water on my back and find stumps that were smoldering and squirt them. And they called it a piss bag. And I'm like, literally, I thought I was going to be saving eagle eggs, and I'm freaking walking around in this shitty environment with this heavy bag. And then I got poison oak on my arm, and I told the dude, I got poison oak. I'm going to have to, not come in for a couple of days. And this guy opened up his shirt and freaking, he was covered in poison oak. His whole body was a scab. And I said, are you kidding me? And he actually expected me to think poison oak was just part of it. So I said, pass, dude. I quit. Everyone freaked out, opened up the newspaper the next day, saw a job for selling cars, went in, got a job selling cars. Literally in the first month, I made $6,000. And back then, I'm telling you, that was like $20,000 now. Yeah. None of my family made that much money. And I made $6,000 my first month. They told me to go pick out a car. They gave me a car to drive. I got to wear suit, cologne. Customers were coming to me. There was no poison oak. There was no freaking, squirrels eating my damn honey buns. It was just straight up, heaven. And I thought to myself, dude, this is where it's at. So I just started to focus on sales and, went through life till about 30 years old, focused on getting rich, trying to get rich, try this business, try that business. Nothing ever worked. And then one time I'm sitting there running a dealership and I see this Mexican dude in the back, and he's a cool dude. Got to know him a little bit. And I said, let me teach you how to sell, man. Let me teach you how to close deals so you can make some money. Cause I could see that he was broke and, real humble guy, but just no money. And he had 4 kids and a wife, and I'd see them come in with their heads kind of hung low and, very timid and shy. And
yeah.
So I talked him into letting me teach him how to close. So I taught him how to close. Within a couple months, he was making 15, 20 grand a month. His whole family changed. He literally lit up like freaking, it was unbelievable. And I thought, man, that's cool. That's what I want to do. So I quit my job and went to start a training company. Now, if you think about it, what happened there? Because I didn't know what I was doing then, but looking back, that's the first time I ever focused on helping other people rather than myself. And I didn't do it intentionally. I just thought that felt good, and I had the ability to do it. And plus, I don't like working for people. So shit, I get to have my own job. I can do my own shit.
Yep.
And I get to help people. So I quit and went out and started my company. Well, real quick, I found out you need 4 ingredients to train people effectively: good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. Without those 4, you're not training people. You're just exposing people.
Right.
So that made me invent LightSpeed for myself. And then it worked so well for me, I started showing it to all the big names, and the big names started using it. And then I thought, shit, I don't need to be the trainer. I'll just support the trainers. So that's how I got, the fame or the following, is because I was hanging around all these big wigs. People would see them in social media, and then they'd say, who's this guy? And then they started listening to me. Now all of a sudden I got a little bit of a following and a top podcast, and now I'm a entrepreneur. I'm an influencer.
I saw that. Or they called you on, what was it? You were on Cameo, podcaster.
Yeah, I'm a podcaster.
How cool is that?
That's my claim to fame.
I love that you help somebody out. And that's kind of what puts you into your career path. That's really cool and exciting, because a lot of times some of the listeners out there, they're like, what can I do? Where do I need to do? And they don't know what to do. And they need to do something that makes them happy, because you can make all the money in the world. But if you're unhappy, you're miserable, you're not successful. If you're happy in what you do, and there's no better feeling than helping someone, especially someone you don't know, or employees or family members, when you're able to give something. That's why as people start to become wealthy, they become philanthropists, because they want to give back, because that is the win. That feels so good, more than making money. Agreed?
Agreed. I think if you really want to get financially successful, you just need to focus on solving problems. And I always had a knack for solving problems. Like there was a couple of times where there were riddles given out in the newspaper, and whoever, took the riddles or the clues, they found the treasure. I'd find the treasure. I'd always win contests when it came to problem solving. So I was always a good problem solver. And when I started my business, dude, I had 1,000,000 problems, but I looked at them as puzzles, as games, and I solved them, and I got good at solving them when most people avoid them. And I always tell people, like, quit avoiding problems, start looking for them, and get really good at solving them. Because how do you get good at anything? Well, you got to practice, right? You got to do it over and over. You got to get experience doing it. So most people are avoiding problems their whole life, so they never get any good at solving them.
I had an episode I talked about, and I brought a little bit of it in my book, but do you know the difference between a cow and a buffalo?
No.
So I'm going to tell you. So when a storm is coming, a cow will turn around and walk the other way. And a storm being a problem in real life, but they see the storm coming, they walk the other way. A buffalo senses the storm coming, it runs right fucking through it. And the difference is the buffalo gets through that problem, gets through the storm a lot quicker, deals with those issues, deals with any kind of problems, and now they're ready to keep moving to the sunshine and live their life. Where a cow who's running, you just mentioned people are trying to hide from their problems and not deal with them. When they're running from an issue and not dealing with something head on, it chases them, it haunts them, it creates anxiety, it creates depression, it creates pressure that's not needed. I learned that not too long ago, and I love that story because I always tell people, try to be a buffalo. When there's a problem, when there's an issue, you want to solve problems, deal with it head on. Don't run from it. Don't shy from it. You're missing your opportunity.
Yeah. Do you know the difference between an elephant and a rhino?
No.
Elephino.
Ah! I thought I was getting some good, dropping bomb comments there. That's great. I thought mine was, think about it. Has there been times where a storm was coming for you that you hit it head on?
Absolutely. Every day, But
what has been one of the
hardest
hardest
storms? I don't see them as a storm, though.
What do you see it as?
Opportunity.
Exactly.
To me, opportunity is in the problem. It's in the risk. And that's why most people never find it, because they're avoiding risk and they're avoiding problems. And that's where the money is. That's where everything is. Like, in my opinion, dude, relationships are the new economy.
Yeah.
So why don't people go out and meet more individuals? Like I always tell people, look, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, period. So go out and shake more hands. Well, I don't know what to say. What if I look stupid? Everyone is so worried about what other people think because they don't value enough what they think. So I always try to show people, listen, relationships are the most important thing you can develop. The first one and the most important one is the one you have with yourself. You have to go build your own relationship with yourself so you value yourself. You have some self-worth, you have some trust and some confidence in yourself. And I think that, is the magic key, if there is one. Because I always tell people there's no key to success. It's more of a combination, and everyone has their own, right? I know people that think going out getting laid every night is successful. I think that's dangerous.
Yeah.
I know people that would say that I'm broke, even though I make pretty good money. I don't measure success strictly by money, but everyone has their own idea of what success is, but a lot of people don't identify it. They don't take the time to map out and visualize what it is they're actually looking for, which is why sometimes people make a lot of money and then they're not happy. Or people make a lot of money and then they go broke. Well, because deep down inside their subconscious, they don't deserve the money and they feel guilt and shame because they have it. And they take actions and make choices, even subconsciously, to lose it.
I've hit peaks in my life where I felt guilty having money. Not that I did something wrong, but I grew up in an environment that, my brother was my biggest critic. My success was his failure, right? He's the biggest jealous person in the world. We have an okay relationship, but I would be like, I don't want to tell him that I bought a new house or that I'm like, I always felt bad. And when I bought a, a really nice home in Michigan and was super excited. And it was, it was a big deal for us. I didn't want to tell my parents and brother when they were coming up for Thanksgiving. I was nervous of them coming. And this is a couple of years ago, just because my family's never seen anything like that. My brother's never seen anything like that. And so I felt guilty. And I think everyone should see a therapist. I see a therapist. And she told me that the more successful you get and the more money you make, the more risk for depression you're going to have.
Wow.
Because there's nothing to chase and your circle becomes smaller because certain people get intimidated by you. So they fall off your circle. Not that you did anything wrong. And then some go into the hater category. So they fall out of your circle. So your circle becomes smaller. And I eventually had to get over it. I had a long conversation with my parents, like, I didn't want you to see the house and know that I spent, millions of dollars for this and did this and did that. I felt guilty. And my mom and dad made me feel better because growing up, it was always like they didn't have a lot. And I felt like they were even bothered or intimidated, not hating, but intimidated that I had more. But then we had a breakthrough having the conversation. I became a buffalo that weekend and said, look, this is bothering me and I don't want to feel guilty. I work my ass off. I deserve this. And I had to have that change of mindset. And I think the listeners, which you just touched on, is when people get guilty or start questioning themselves and they don't have the confidence, they can piss the money away, or they can not be able to have the strength to make the good decisions they need to because they're too worried about pleasing people. There was moments in my life, I try to show vulnerability all the time, where I literally felt bad of what my family would think that I had a $7 million house. Like, I was worried about that.
Yeah. Well, good thing you changed it.
Yeah.
Because I do believe with all the fibers in my body that you're never going to outperform your own self-image.
Yeah.
So if you don't build that self-image up, I don't think you have a chance at success.
Agreed.
I think you have to literally at least believe that you're worth it, or deserve it in some way.
Well, when you walk in waters you're not used to, you get to different levels. It gets uncomfortable, and it's like, why me? What did I do? And so for me, I started questioning myself, like, what did I do so special? Then I realized, oh, I've worked my ass off. And other people are like, dude, you should be happy that you have that. Like, I'm happy for you. And it felt different to be around people who appreciated what I did and also did things like that. You surround yourself. I'm a big believer of surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Yep.
And people that have more than you, because you can learn from them. I have other friends that might not have as much, and we never judge, but I still want to learn from those that know more. And I learn from everybody, no matter what their status is. I love to surround myself with people. I don't want to be the big fish in a small pond. And I don't want to be the small fish in a big pond. I want to be somewhere in the middle, so I'm always learning. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I've never wanted to be a fish.
Yeah, well.
At all. If anything, I'd be a shark. But, I've heard all the, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I agree, but it's hard to find a room where everybody's smarter.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm looking for the rooms. Maybe they're like, they see me coming and they shut the door. I don't know. But I need to elevate the game.
Yeah.
To where I'm in those rooms. Because again, I'm doing well, but dude, I need to hang around 9-10 figure people. So I'm listening and watching and learning. It's like I'm hanging around people where I'm the big fish.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard to do on a regular basis, like hang around those bigger guys. Now I get to talk to a lot because they're my customers, and I get coaching or mentoring anytime I want from some of the biggest names. And I tap into their, but hang around to me is like spend a lot of time with them. And I don't know how to spend a lot of time with, billionaires. They're freaking busy.
Well, let me tell you what I did. When I moved to Michigan, I had a different group of friends. Some were billionaires, some were worth a few $100 million, some were only making $75,000 a year. Normal people the circle of friends that we had. And we had this thing called adult game night. So don't judge, but all the kids would go to bed and we'd have about 12 couples, from football players to somebody who's worth $1 billion to somebody who's in accounting, you name it, different group of people that we would bring together. We would do it one Friday a month, and it would be adult charades, inappropriate adult charades. Listeners, don't judge, but I'm talking, you get uncomfortable and you make the best bond friendship. So for my 40th birthday, I took all 6 of these couples to Turks, and we stayed in this house, and we did the same stuff. It was so great. But you got to find ways to bond, because someone who has more, like I told you, I had a neighbor. Well, I don't know if I told you this, but I have a neighbor next to me in Michigan. They actually own print. They're a fisher, and they own like 300 car dealerships. They just sold for like $8 billion or something crazy. I mean, it was nuts. He has like 4 planes. I've hung out with him twice. Great guy. But I'll be out with him. He's like, hey, you want to go to France tomorrow? We're going to go to France for like 4 days. I got shit to do, man. I got kids. I'm running a company. I'm trying to do a podcast. I can't just go to France tomorrow, Thursday at 4:00. Like, he has a different mindset. So I can't hang out with them all the time. But to bring them to game night and kind of just become human with these people, because they're all looking for friends too. The bigger these folks get, the less people want to hang out with them because they're either intimidated or they hate on them. So their circle is really, 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 really small.
Yeah.
A lot of these top athletes that are famous, like their circle's so small because everybody's hanging out with them because of who they are, not, in the public forum, not because who they are really.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Yeah. Now you're the real Bradley, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. And you're building a brand in all aspects. I was getting coaching from you before we started on different ways to build a brand. Talk about, to the entrepreneurs out there, or the business owners, or the people wanting to get started, how important is it to build a brand with your company?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. I think it's critical. People don't follow companies, they follow people. So your personal brand is ultimately what's going to tee up doing business. So I think everyone should build a personal brand. And how you do it is really just let the world know who you are. Social media, get on all the main 6 channels, put content out there, your thoughts, your value, your opinions, your beliefs, and don't be afraid of what other people think. And continue to do it over time. And pretty soon, you'll have those people that follow you and share and, engage. But there's so many people afraid to put the content out there because they're afraid of what other people might think. And I tell people, if you're so afraid of the hate, you'll never find the love.
That's right.
So you want that love, dog, you better get that content out there and your opinions and your thoughts and share it. Unless it's about the old vaccine or anything, controversial where they'll kick you off the platform, silence you. I wouldn't go that far.
Right.
Only because, now you're just not allowed on it. And if you're not allowed on the social media platforms, dude,
You're in trouble.
It's very hard to communicate and find and let anyone know who you are. You have to spend a ton of money on movies and television, because where do we get our information from? Movies, television, radio, or social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
it.
mostly social media.
Nowadays, it's all social media, which is why everybody with a phone in their pocket has basically a broadcast station. Why aren't you broadcasting, bro? Like, broadcast, man.
When you first started doing this, did you feel some of the hate come out, or did you feel uncomfortable at all?
Not really. I didn't know what to say. And so I had to spend a little while trying to figure out what to say. And then I realized, well, there's nothing to say. Just be you. Just start, putting out your thoughts and opinions and film what you're doing and who you're talking to and what you're talking about, and then chop it up, create a headline, and boom, stick it out there. Now, the various platforms have different, formats. But other than that, you just outflow of content, outflow every day, 2-3 posts every single channel, every single day. Not the same content on every one, different.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it right, you're, creating that content and you're dropping 10 to 15 pieces of content every single day for 3 to 5 years. And at the end of that 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a personal brand. Someone's going to Google you. Whatever you put out there is what they're going to judge you on.
Yeah.
So again, if you want it to relate to your business, relate it to your business. If I'm in, the software of training space, well, then I need to put out content that talks about training and the ways to do it correctly and the mistakes people are making. And then someone finally is Googling software, they see LightSpeed and they're like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Right. Who's one of your biggest mentors?
I learned from everybody, dude. I've learned from Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Damon John, Zig Ziglar, people that have died because I read their books. I started reading. I was telling you that, never really read growing up, but now I read every single day. I'm reading, 50 books a year at least. And so, those are my mentors, Stephen Pressfield, John Maxwell, because I'm learning what they've already learned. And then I filter out the shit I don't like.
Yeah.
And I apply some things and try some things and I think, and then I find my own formula and or a mixture. And dude, it saves me a ton of time. So I learn from everybody. I don't have one mentor.
Now you have a book coming out.
I do.
When's it come out? What's it called?
It should be out within about 30 days. It's right now being formatted.
Oh, mine's in the same stage.
To print.
Yeah.
And they told me about 3 or 4 weeks, but it's called The Hard Way, which is full title would be Lessons I've Learned the Hard Way so you don't have to. And basically, it's just shit that everyone's going to learn one way or the other. The question is, are you going to learn it the hard way or are you going to learn it from my book? Because there's universal truths, if you ask me. about being authenticity. How do you find it? How do you fix yourself? How do you fix the relationship with yourself? How do you build confidence? How do you find success? What are the traits of the successful? So I just put together a lot of life stories that taught me lessons, and that those lessons are how I broke, the quote unquote success barrier. Because again, by standards, I'm successful. But I know a lot of way more successful people that wouldn't consider me not successful, but I'm not anywhere close to what they've achieved.
Yeah. So
I'm always on a journey of learning. Yeah. And that book is just what I've learned so far.
I love that. I'm definitely going to take up reading, because you told me our background's similar, right? Not going to high school, kind of building things from the ground up, learning from experience. So definitely, I can be relatable. I was listening to your story a little bit when I was on your show and you were talking about it, and we were talking outside. It was like, hey man, like we kind of have similar stories. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And so I'm going to take the advice, and, I wrote a book, but I haven't read one. I'm going to start reading some. So what would be the top 3 books I should get first?
Well, I like Audible because I like to listen while I'm driving and or working out. So I don't actually read the book, even though I have heard reading and listening at the same time, you retain more. But I just listen. So I think it depends, because you're already successful. But if you weren't successful, I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would say Think and Grow Rich. I would say there's a book out there called The 4 Agreements. Now, even if you are successful, I would read The 4 Agreements, As a Man Thinketh, and The War of Art. Now, most people say, you mean The Art of War? No, that's Sun Tzu. I'm talking about The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. Those 3 books right there are game changers for people.
I'm going to have to check all 3 of those out, and I'll do the Audible. I'll listen to it in the plane or whatever, So
and then The Hard Way, I would recommend.
I'm going to get that one. I'm getting The Hard Way. How can we get it? Pre-order it?
Yeah, you can pre-order it right now at bradley.com.
Bradley.com. And you also have Bradley TV on YouTube. That's booming.
Yeah, bradley.tv. That's just where I throw up videos and tips and tricks on sales, business, and life.
Now, guys, I'm here at his studio, and I'm walking around. He's got camera people everywhere, and he's keeping it real. There's nothing scripted. We're smoking cigars. We're shooting the shit. I mean, it's pretty cool. I love that. And I think viewers and listeners love that you're real. That's why your name's The Real Brad Lee. It's authentic. There's no script. There's no, I've got this plan. You're just like, film it, baby. I'm here, right?
Yeah, well, when I was 6 or 7-ish, my dad was blue collar. We lived on a hill in a little shitty house next to nice houses. And the person that lived here owned a grocery store chain. This person was an eye doctor. I forget what this person and this person did, but we were surrounded by well-off people. And by the way, now that I know what rich is, they were not rich, but they were way richer than us.
When you're in that perception, though, when you're in that reality. That's what it seems
they were
like,
loaded back then. We lived in this little tiny shit box. Well, that's the house that my dad built a nice house on. And the shit box we lived in became the sunken living room of the house we built. So that tells you how little of a shit house it was. It became a sunken living room, the whole entire floor plan of this house we lived in. But all the little neighborhood kids, I thought, looked down upon us because we didn't have any money and we were the scummy people of the neighborhood and whatnot. So I'd lie to everybody. And I would literally tell people my dad owned Disneyland, and I'd show them monopoly deeds, like trying to convince them, we own property and, truly we're poor, we're rich. We're not really poor. And I just lied my ass off for a summer, and everybody hated me and avoided me and made fun of me. 6 or 7 years old, dude, you're mighty.
It's tough.
You're tough. And so you'd go out to play and no one would play with you and everyone would avoid you. So I learned my lesson real quick. And then we moved cities about 30 miles north. I went from Cottage Grove to Eugene. And when I got to Eugene, I just told myself, I'm not lying anymore. I'm not, because you'll get caught lying eventually. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to bullshit people. And if someone doesn't like me, fuck them. Okay. Then they don't need to be around me. And so I just, fortunately, got really taught that, lying and bullshitting, it does not serve you at a young age. And I think that has served me over the years, because I got to a point where it's like, hey, look, this is who I am. And if you don't like me, that's cool. Then we shouldn't be hanging out, because that's where I said, you just become who you are, you're going to be a lot happier. You're going to feel a lot more authentic. There's just this inner peace about you because you're real. You're being real. You're not hiding anything. You're not putting up a front. You're not acting like something.
Right.
You're being yourself, and other people that like you and who you are resonates with them. They will come around, and the ones that don't will go away. And I think that's the universal filter that nobody's taking advantage of. They're too worried about who's going to go away. Dude, don't worry so much about other people's opinion. The reason people do that is because they don't value their own. And the reason why they don't value their own is because they haven't stopped and built a relationship with themselves. My whole life, dude, I've done some stupid shit. I used to freaking steal and, swipe shit. I was a little klepto and, I wasn't always the, sweetest kid, right? I literally, was a little bit of a hoodlum growing up. And I didn't realize it, but that was storing in my mindset. That was storing. And so I think the reason I couldn't find success for a long time is because deep down, I didn't think I deserved it. And eventually I found what I call the sacred six. The sacred six is, number one, you have to forgive yourself. Most people won't do it. They won't even realize that they need to. So you forgive yourself. Then that's just wiping the slate clean. Then you commit to do what you say you're going to do from that day forward. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Right. Period. And you get to decide what you agree to. So don't get nervous. Just don't agree to so much shit. Be really sure when you agree and you commit that you're doing it. Number 3, rack up the wins so you are used to winning. Because, dude, think about in the past, a lot of people fail on a regular basis. They just don't really pay attention that they're failing. If I set a goal, I'm going to make $1 million next year, and I come in at 920. Dude, you can rationalize and say, "Oh, good job. It's pretty good." No, that's a loss, bro. So we're used to losing a lot without even realizing it because we're supported by our parents, etc. Don't worry about it. Try again. Yada yada yada. So to reverse that, because if you lose a lot, that makes you a loser. So if you win a lot, that makes you a winner. So how do we win every day? Well, set 5 or 10 small goals every single day and freaking achieve them. So now you start winning on a regular basis. And then 4th thing is to watch who starts opening their pie hole and start talking shit to you. Start not supporting you. Start to act like, what are you doing, dude? Dude, you didn't even graduate high school. You think you're going to go start a business, bro? Go get a real job. You start noticing who's talking shit and who's not your friend, and you weed out the idiots. Mm-hmm. That's number 4. You can't hang around the wrong people. You have to feed your brain with positive shit, hang around positive people. Then, and like I said, better people. And then number 5, map out who you are, where you want to be, and visualize that on a regular basis. And then step 6, seek knowledge every single day so you get new beliefs. Because the reason you get what you get is because you do what you do. And the reason you do what you do is because you believe what you believe. And the only way to change your belief is to get new information. If you don't get any new information, your beliefs won't change. And if they won't change, you'll keep doing the same shit and you'll keep getting the same shit.
Bam. That's solid gems right there, dude. The 6 steps. I love it.
Sacred 6.
So,
and it builds a relationship with yourself. You start to feel proud. You start to walk around. You start to think you deserve more, and you start to do more, and you start to act different. And really, most people are like, I'll believe it when I see it. No, you got to see it to believe it.
It's true. No, it's very true. And what you said in step 3 about the small wins. I mean, I'm a big believer. I say there's no elevator in life. You have to take the stairs, but you have to set those small goals. I won't put goals past 180 days. I struggle with our financial team because they want a budget for a year. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we look like in a year, but I can give you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and 180 days. That's it. Even in my life, I try to, where are you going to be next year? I don't know, but I stay there. Therefore, I'm in that moment still. It's relative. And I'm getting those wins because getting to a company, you're doing 50, 60, 80 million in sales, right? You didn't think day one you're going to get there. Otherwise, you're discouraged. It's like walking you're like, I'm never going to get there. You got to look at each platform as a win. Like, hey, how do I get to 1 million in sales? How do I get to 5 million? How do I get to 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500? You got to set those goals. I think lowering the bar a little bit, it doesn't mean you're lowering your expectations. You're shortening the time and lowering what you should accomplish to get there and get those small wins to add up, because progress leads to winning completely. And I think too many people get discouraged or they quit because they're looking at that dream goal of here's where I need to be. And because they can't get there instantly, we're so used to, gratification on our phones right now, I've got this. You can't go from 0 to 100 without hitting every one of those mile per hours or those steps to get there.
Yeah.
And that's really what that number 3 is about. I love that. That's one of my favorite things in life to believe in, is set small goals that you can obtain and get those wins and get more confidence and keep going. Otherwise you'll get discouraged.
That's right.
Now, how can everybody find you, Brad?
Google me.
Google. Bradley.com?
LEA. Yeah, Bradley.com is kind of where my main website is, where anything I'm doing is usually there. I don't list RV dealerships and a few of my things, but I can't keep updating it. Like, I'm starting new projects. I'm an entrepreneur, man. I mean, I hear something, I that sounds good. I'll give it a shot. I've probably started 40 companies. I've got 8 that are doing well.
It only takes a few good winners to do well.
That's right. And, most people say, if you chase more than one rabbit, you won't catch any. That's not true. I say, pay attention, dude. There's opportunity everywhere. And, unless you don't have the time, you can chase a few more things, especially when you're, working with a personal brand. Like, when I start these other companies, it's not me working the company. It's me usually, bringing the company the attention it needs, or the employees it needs, or the capital it needs to thrive.
Yeah.
So Bradley.com is kind of where you'll find me. If you want to, DM me, I'd go to Instagram. YouTube's the best place though. Bradley.tv.
I've seen your YouTube channel. It's good. You've
Yeah.
got some great content on there. And
Thank
your
you.
podcast, Dropping Bombs.
At droppingbombs.com.
That's a great podcast. Well, thank you, Brad, for joining True Underdog. Guys, make sure you subscribe and follow Brad Lee. Go to bradleytv.com, correct?
Bradley.tv.
Let me fix that. Bradley.tv, and check out his Dropping Bombs podcast. That's a wrap here on True Underdog. Bam!